material online, largely due to predators taking advantage of new technologies like generative artificial intelligence, or AI. Now, almost instantaneously, perpetrators can use an app on their phone to create fake, explicit images depicting real people, commonly referred to as deepfakes. Disturbingly, this is increasingly affecting and targeted at minors, and particularly young girls. Up to 95% of all internet deepfakes depict sexual imagery, with the vast majority of it targeting women and girls. It feels like almost every week now we're seeing a new report of a middle school or high school young girl falling victim to this despicable activity. Young girls are waking up to a text message from their friends saying there's an explicit photo of them circulating on social media or an explicit video. And yet the photos aren't real. They were created using AI, typically taking the face of a real person and using AI technology to graft it seamlessly and imperceptibly to a different image and a sexually explicit image. Imagine being 14 years old and showing up at school where your classmates believe they have seen an explicit photo of you that is a fake and a fraud. The photos may not be real, but the pain and the humiliation is. Lives forever. Even worse, these photos can prove very difficult to remove from the internet. They can spread quickly from one phone to another, to another, to another, causing many women and girls to have to live with being victimized over and over again. Today, we are honored to be joined by Elliston Berry from my home state in Texas. Elliston is brave enough to be here today sharing her personal story. She's joined by her mother, Anna. Also joining us is Dorota Mani from New Jersey, whose daughter Francesca has also been a victim of sexualized deepfake images. Dorota and her daughter have now made it their mission to spread awareness about this issue and to help prevent other young girls from having to go through what Francesca and Elliston went through. To all three of you, thank you for being here today. Elliston, thank you in particular for being here. This is a scary thing for an adult to face, but it's particularly scary for a teenager. Thank you for your courage. I'm also joined by my colleague, Senator Lummis, who is one of the 12 bipartisan sponsors of the new legislation to help protect victims like Elliston and Francesca. Our bill, the Take It Down Act, will protect and empower victims of non-consensual intimate imagery, also known as NCII, by criminalizing its publication, making it unlawful for a person to knowingly put such content on social media or other platforms. This includes both real and computer-generated sexual images that depict real identifiable people. There are a few bills in the Senate right now that are working to tackle this issue. And I want to be clear, our legislation is designed to be complementary to those efforts. I'm supportive of the other efforts, and this is designed to fill gaps that the other bills do not address. As the ranking member of the Senate Commerce Committee, my legislation is the first of its kind to require websites, including social media sites, to have in place a process to remove such content within 48 hours of a request from a victim. The sites must also remove any copies of those images. You know, it can be maddening dealing with big tech and trying to get these images, these fake images of your child taken down. And big tech over and over again has demonstrated an arrogance, an imperiousness, a lack of accountability. We're all aware that this happened to Taylor Swift. And if you happen to be a global pop star, you can get the images pulled down. When Taylor Swift rightly said these images are disgusting, pull them down, big tech responded. But if you're not fortunate enough to be a global celebrity, if you're just a teenager living in Texas or New Jersey or anywhere else, big tech ignores your pleas for help. When I met with Anna last week, she mentioned the images of Elliston were still on Snapchat, and that her repeated efforts to call Snapchat to talk to someone were met by bureaucratic resistance. Were met by talk to somebody else, send an email, a brick wall that got nowhere. Last week in my office, I turned to my team, I said, get on the phone with Snapchat right now. If need be, put me on the phone with their CEO. I want those images taken down. They were taken down within 24 hours. Now, if you don't happen to be in a situation where a sitting member of Congress intervenes on your behalf, you know what you get right now? You get a closed door and a stone wall. That is not fair and that is not right. It should not take an elected member of Congress intervening to have these despicable lies pulled down from online. I'm proud to be joined in introducing this legislation with my colleagues, Senators Klobuchar, Lummis, Blumenthal, Capito, Rosen, Budd, Butler, Manchin, Young, Hickenlooper, Cassidy, and Heinrich. 12 co-sponsors, bipartisan, across the board, across the ideological spectrum. We all agree this is a common sense step to criminalize the publication of non-consensual intimate images and to provide the statutory right. If this garbage is put up by you, if it's put up against you, if it's put up against your child, you have a right within 48 hours to force big tech to take it down. We're also grateful for the over 36 groups, including victims' advocates, law enforcement, medical professionals, and others, who have come out in support of our bill. We are humbled by the overwhelming support this bill has received just upon introduction. Here with us today are representatives from 3 of those organizations. Yoda Soros, Chief Legal Officer of the National Center for Missing and Children, NCMEC. Don Hawkins, the CEO on the National Center on Sexual Exploitation. And Stefan Turkheimer, the Vice President of Public Policy at the Rape, Abuse, and Incest National Network. We are grateful for your support and your hard work in this field dealing with victims of horrific crimes. And as experts on sexual exploitation, we look forward to hearing from you today on the importance of passing this legislation. Most importantly, I'm proud that victims feel that the Take It Down Act will make a positive impact. Elliston, Anna, Dorota, I know that after all your families have been through, you have made it your mission to ensure that no other young girl has to go through this nightmare. You are protecting teenage girls across this country. You're protecting moms and dads from going through the agony of not being able to protect your child. And at a time when there's lots of partisan division in Washington, it is encouraging to see that we can come together and find bipartisan agreement. And with that, I want to introduce Anna McAdams initially to tell your story.
Thank you very much for allowing us to be here. On October the 2nd, 2023, we woke up to the news that devastated our lives forever. The previous day, a following classmate decided a fate for my daughter and her 9 friends that they never would have imagined. He decided to take beautiful, innocent pictures off of social media platforms and impose nude body parts to an AI app called DNGG. On Snapchat, he made multiple accounts. He friend requested people and blasted them with the fake nudes of the girls. It's important to draw attention to the fact that he didn't take someone else's nude images and put their faces on them. Instead, he took their actual bodies using AI to make the images look even more real. These images are child pornography. These girls were 14 years old. Their innocence was taken that day. In just 24 hours, everyone in the social group had seen these pictures. The girls' phones were ablaze with warnings. That week would become a nightmare, and the girls' classmates had taken innocent pictures and sent them out to the entire Aledo High School. Some of their friends would ask him why he was doing it, and his response was, "I want to go out with a bang. I want to ruin the girls." In today's world, those words are some of the scariest. We live with school shootings and regular things happening in our country. You could only imagine the fear that those words caused the girls. Would he come to school with an intent to hurt them? Would he kill himself? The girls didn't want to go to school. The few days that followed, the girls stayed home, but on that Friday went back to school, and the school accidentally went into lockdown. It seemed to be, to the girls, someone was after them. We're thankful that it was nothing more than a mistake, and during the lockdown, the boy decided to go into his accounts and to continue to terrorize. He would send out other pictures. This allowed the school's tech team to catch him. It is so shocking to be violated in this way. First, having nudes sent out you didn't consent to, and second, for the fear of your life that someone might take it. What he did was malicious. He chose his victims, and he reveled in the torturing of them. If we do not have stricter laws and punishments for this type of crime, it will only increase. We are thankful that all the girls have family, friends, and counselors who support them. They will come through it. If the girls had not had the support, it could have turned into the worst circumstance imaginable, like mental breakdown or even suicide. The perpetrator was charged with sale, distribution, display of harmful material to a minor. But instead of having our day in court, the Parker County deemed him not a harm and gave him only probation. When he turns 18, his record will be expunged. He will walk away unscathed. However, our girls will forever live in fear that when they apply for a job or college, these pictures might resurface. He chose a fate for our daughters that we couldn't have imagined. There needs to be consequences for what he did. This is why the Takedown Act is so crucial. This bill would hold even minors accountable for jail time for this type of crime. And it would require Snapchat and other social media apps to take the images down within 48 hours. As of last week, as you heard from Senator Cruz, we had not gotten anywhere with Snapchat. It took 8.5 months for us to get those images off there. We don't know how many times they were shared and passed around. Like he said, if we had been Taylor Swift, it would have come down immediately. This bill will give us a voice that we did not have before. So thank you.
Thank you, Anna. Thank you, Anna. I'd now like to bring forward Elliston Berry to tell her story. Elliston.
My name is Elliston, and you just heard what happened to me last fall. As a 14-year-old who had just entered high school, this experience threw off my freshman year and created a fearful environment for me and my friends. I've always looked forward to going to high school as it is such a huge part of life. But being involved in volleyball and hanging with friends, I was able to enjoy school. But once these photos were released, I dreaded school and was anxious to even step foot on campus. Although the student left school, which allowed me to feel more confident about attending classes, there will always be a fear that these photos will resurface. I wouldn't wish this experience upon anyone and hope to create something that will prevent any student from having to go through this.
Thank you, Elliston. Anna and Elliston are both Texans. I now want to bring forward Dorota Monty, who's from New Jersey, whose daughter experienced almost exactly the same thing, and it is unfair and it's wrong. Dorota?
Thank you. Alison, congratulations. Thank you for sharing. You empowered a lot of girls in this country. Francesca unfortunately couldn't be here. She is taking her last exam. On October 20th, an incident at Westfield High School marked a critical turning point for my daughter Francesca, many of her female sophomore classmates, and their families. the girls were subjected to the distribution of inappropriate AI nude images, called deepfakes, by the fellow male students. Our initial reaction of shock and disbelief evolved into anger and now determination, which fuels our commitment to advocate for safer environment for women and children in this country. Together, Francesca and I are tirelessly working to promote the enactment of stronger AI laws, comprehensive state and federal guidelines, and nationwide effective school AI policies. The incident at Westfield High School should never have happened, and sadly, it is not unique. Without collective efforts to educate, prevent, and legislate, then unacceptable misuse will persist. And let's not forget that 96% or even more of all AI victims are women and children. As of October 20th, only 4 states had specific laws targeting the misuse of AI deepfake imagery. Since then, thanks to collaborative efforts with lawmakers like Congressman King, Congressman Cruz, Congresswoman Sherry, and Congressman Morelli, 3 fundamental federal laws have been introduced. Recently, we have witnessed Congress consider the amendment of Section 230, and now 14 states have enacted laws to curb the misuse of non-consensual deepfakes, with an additional 10 states limiting such imagery in political campaigns. This rapid and bipartisan response underscores a strong governmental commitment to much-needed reforms. Take It Down, introduced today by Senator Cruz and Senator Klobuchar, is particularly significant. Among many important features of this bill, it requires digital platforms to remove reported AI deepfake images within 48 hours, a critical step in empowering women and children to regain control over the obvious abuse of their image without their consent. I am very grateful to see senators on both sides of the aisle stepping up and addressing this issue, and I know that once this bill is signed, it will make a difference for girls like Francesca and Ellie. So I am advocating to shed light on this important legislation and to seek support in shifting the narrative toward empowering women and children, which we can't do without proper legislation. It's time to stop ignoring this issue or dismissing it as someone else's problem. As you can see, this can happen to any of us, by anyone. We must face it together and move on. Thank you.
Thank you, Dorota, and thank you for speaking up for Francesca, and tell her good luck in her finals.
Thank you.
I now want to recognize Senator Lummis.
Thank you, Senator Cruz, and thanks to all of you who have had to deal with this issue firsthand. You know, I remember what it was like to be in junior high and high school and just being uncomfortable in my own skin. I think that's very normal for girls that age, and I would ask every person in this room, every woman in this room, to think back to what it's like to be in junior high and high school and that insecurity, that discomfort that we all have in our own skin, and then ask you to consider what these girls have been through. This is a horrific experience for these girls and their families. It can leave lasting scars. We must address this. This cannot be allowed to stand. I support the Cruz-Klobuchar bill wholeheartedly. There are other bills, as Senator Cruz pointed out, and as Senator Cruz pointed out, he supports these other efforts as well. Now, I did put a hold on one of those bills so we can work out changes to the definitions that make it as tight and targeted as the Cruz-Klobuchar bill. And I will continue to work with those teams in order to make whatever bill advances as clean and targeted and as timely, because this issue cannot wait. This issue must be addressed now. Thank you, Senator Cruz, and thank you to the victims for bringing this issue forward. It takes courage, and you have that undaunted courage that we all admire. Thank you.
Thank you, Cynthia, and I would echo, Elliston, your standing here today is going to help protect another teenage girl in Texas or New Jersey or somewhere else, hopefully not to go through the nightmare you did. So thank you for doing that. I now want to recognize Yoda Soros, the Chief Legal Officer of the National Center on Missing and Exploited Children, NCMEC.
Thank you, Senator Cruz. The National Center for Missing and Exploited Children, or NCMEC, is proud to support the Take It Down Act. Since last year alone, NCMEC has received thousands of reports to our cyber tip line relating to deepfake content depicting nude and sexualized content of children. And we believe this is just the beginning of a flood of deepfake imagery exploiting children that will be circulated online. At NCMEC, we're seeing deepfake and nudify technology being used to generate new sexually exploitative content depicting children, to manipulate existing sexually explicit images to create new content, and to alter innocent images of children from social media to depict them in nude or sexually exploitative images. The Take It Down Act will ensure criminal penalties exist for circulating or threatening to circulate deepfake, nude, or exploitative images depicting children. This legislation is crucially needed to close gaps in existing laws relating specifically to deepfake, nude, or sexualized content that may not meet the definition of child pornography. The notice and removal provisions of the bill especially provide an essential remedy for victims to seek redress specifically from online platforms that are hosting intimate images in which adults and children are depicted. NCMEC is deeply appreciative of the leadership of Senators Klobuchar, Cruz, Lummis, and the many other co-sponsors in the Senate in introducing the Take It Down Act, and we applaud their dedication to ensuring the safety of children online.
Thank you very much. Would now like to recognize Dawn Hawkins, who's the CEO of the National Center on Sexual Exploitation. Dawn?
The Take It Down Act is not just a legislative proposal, it's a lifeline. One of the most critical components of this bill is the requirement of tech companies to listen to survivors. Our law center represents many survivors of image-based sexual abuse, including deepfake pornography. In one of our cases, a woman was sex trafficked and her trafficker is in prison. We sent a takedown request to Google to remove the video and images in Google Images and Videos. And Google responded saying they didn't see signs of coercion. And this is the reality that so many survivors are facing. They have to beg and beg and beg, as you heard, for this content to be taken down. We need tech giants to take responsibility. AI tools available in the app stores hosted by Google and Apple have dozens of nudifying apps rated for age 4 and up. It took a large shaming campaign, public shaming campaign, for them to start to remove them. Or on Microsoft GitHub, you can download tons of different code to generate realistic forged pornographic images in just minutes. We have platforms like Pornhub, Reddit, and X, where they let anyone upload sexually explicit content of anyone at any time, and then they not only drive people to that content through ads, but they also enable countless downloads and reshares. This is the unacceptable reality that we face today, and it will remain so unless Congress acts now. It's outrageous that tech companies can instantly remove copyrighted material. If you upload a clip from Disney or a pop song, it's gone in a heartbeat, risking an immediate ban from the platform. Yet if you upload a rape or hide a camera in a locker room or create a deepfake pornographic image, you can do so without scrutiny. The lack of laws, really any laws right now, allow both the platforms and the initial uploaders of this abuse to completely evade accountability. And we all could be victims. It's critical that we act now and we put people over profits. Thank you.
Thank you, Dawn. And last, I would like to recognize Stefan Turkheimer, who is the Vice President of Public Policy at Rape, Abuse, and Incest National Network.
Thank you, Senator Cruz. Hi, my name is Stefan Turkheimer. I'm the VP of Public Policy for RAIN. I want to thank Senator Cruz and Senator Klobuchar for bringing this bill forward. It is incredibly important to the people we represent. We run the National Sexual Assault Hotline. 4.5 million people have called that hotline to help them seek counseling and support after a sexual assault. And make no mistake that image-based sexual abuse is sexual abuse. I want to tell a story that's a little different than the ones you've heard, which is a case that went to trial last week and went to the jury on Friday. It's a story about a Navy captain who dated a woman for a short period of time, but during that time, he was able to get some intimate images from her. When they broke up, he formed a Facebook account in her name and friended 1,200 of her friends, including all her new coworkers. And then he slowly sent out those photos over and over, including deepfakes. There was a federal case about this. It went on for 3 years, and Facebook was asked 400 times to take down the images and delete the account. And every single time, they said that the fake account looked more real to them than the real account. That's the reality of what people are dealing with. When Facebook comes up here and says they're working on the problem, note that all their economic incentives are not to do anything at all. And that changes when this bill passes. I want to thank Senator Cruz, Senator Klobuchar for making a world of difference to the survivors. Every person who calls the hotline is in pain, and this is a way of ending that pain. There's nothing more powerful, not tech companies, not lobbies, not anything, more powerful than an idea whose time has come. Thank you.
Thank you very much. With that, happy to answer questions.
What have the responses been from tech companies like Meta and Snapchat, TikTok, and also what ramifications are there if these companies don't end up taking down these images within 48 hours?
Well, at this point, we are introducing the bill today, so the tech companies are going to have to make a decision how to respond to it. I hope they do the right thing and recognize this is the right solution. Frankly, it's what they should be doing anyway, and part of the reason this bill is necessary is they repeatedly, you just heard from Stefan, Facebook asked 400 times to take these images down. We have hearing after hearing of people, Anna described, just repeatedly with Snapchat saying, take this down, and they just give a stiff arm. They behave as if they are not accountable. And the model is actually one that Dawn described. It's the copyright model. So if you put up The Lion King, that can get taken down incredibly quickly. If you put up a video of a George Strait song and he's got a copyright on it, you can pull that down immediately. And yet if you put up non-consensual intimate images, the big tech companies act as if they have no idea how to do this. This is designed to make it mandatory to pull it down, and it is modeled after, we use the copyright law as the model for this bill to mandate that they pull it down. And once passed, and I believe we're going to get this legislation passed, we will see prompt and immediate compliance just like we do on the copyright side.
Are there consequences for the social media companies if they don't comply within 48 hours? What's the consequence?
There are consequences. Brad, what are the specific consequences? So the FTC has the authority to enforce and bring an enforcement action. So it subjects them to the enforcement through the FTC. And the person posting it also has criminal liability of up to 2 or 3 years in jail, 3 years if it's a minor, 2 years if it's an adult.
Can you expand a bit on the gaps in this bill for the other bills?
Well, there are two things in particular that are new about this bill that are not encompassed in the other bills that have been introduced. One is that this bill addresses AI and deepfakes. The other bills that have been introduced address intimate images that are real images that are placed non-consensually online, and that is an abuse of privacy, and this bill covers that. So if it is a real image that is involuntarily published, this bill penalizes that as well. But this bill addresses where the challenge is going, and you heard from Yoda how NCMEC is getting thousands and thousands of reports, and what's frightening is her assessment, and I think that's all of our assessment, that this is just the beginning, that we are potentially on the front end of a deluge, because it is too easy for someone to do this for anyone they might target. And what can be frustrating in many instances, you don't even know who's targeting you. It can be done thoroughly anonymously. And so this bill, number one, fills the hole of deepfake AI technology, which the other bills do not address. And then number two, the title of the bill, and it may be the most important piece of it, is the mandate that big tech take it down. None of the other bills have that requirement. And as long as those images are out there, the victim continues to be harmed over and over and over again until you pull it down so that they can't be shared anymore. Yeah?
Is there any concern about taking the images down, not preserving evidence for going after the person who posted it?
Well, no, it doesn't require that big tech destroy the images, simply that it not be published to the world. So there's still full ability, and indeed there are exceptions within the bill for preserving an image. For example, to let someone know, hey, this image is up there of you. There are exceptions where it's not exploitative. If someone has an image, you certainly want to know and want someone to let you know. There's also exceptions for reporting to law enforcement. So if a mom has an image and wants to give it to the police or the district attorney to say, somebody posted this, please go prosecute it, that is not criminalized, because that's a good faith effort to stop the violation. Yes?
Senator, are you thinking about how to prevent users from actually creating these deepfakes? Because taking it down seems like the fact has already been done and it's up there, but have you been thinking about ways to legislate around preventing it from actually happening?
So the way this bill focuses on prevention is through the criminal penalties. That criminal penalties of up to 2 years if it's an image of an adult, up to 3 years if it's an image of a child. That, I believe, will be a very significant deterrence. And will it be perfect? Will there still be people who commit offenses? In all likelihood, unfortunately, but I think the power of real criminal penalties is that it's going to ratchet up the cost for people doing it. And I think the question you're raising is an important one. And look, when it comes to big tech platforms, for example, you heard from the other witnesses here how the platforms put these apps up that make it easy to create these images. I think there's a lot to be done urging platforms, don't make these apps widely available when their only use is to create this kind of abuse. And I don't know if anyone wants to chime in on any of these questions, but all right, let's do one last question then. Yeah.
You mentioned it's maddening dealing with big tech and their attitude towards some of these efforts to rein in what they're doing. How do you assess the prospects of this getting through, and how does it compare to other bills that have tried to get a handle on some of the things happening on social media?
Look, I think this bill we're going to get passed. We have 12 co-sponsors right at the outset. It is bipartisan, and it's across the spectrum. I don't think there's an ideological divide on this. I don't think there's a partisan divide on this. Standing here today, I don't know if the big tech companies will lobby against this or not. I hope they don't. I hope they recognize this is an eminently common sense step that, frankly, is what they should have done a long time ago. And the marginal additional profit they get from circulating this garbage, I hope they're willing to look the other way. So it would be disappointing if the tech companies come in against this. This bill is also designed to be in the Commerce Committee. I'm the ranking member on Commerce. I very much hope we have a markup in the Commerce Committee soon. I'm going to be pressing the chairman of the committee, Maria Cantwell, to schedule a markup. This ought to be a bill that would pass. My suspicion is when we have a markup, I expect that it will pass unanimously in committee. I don't know that. We don't have those votes locked down. But I'm not aware of any opposition from members on either side of the dais. And then the question is, can we get it moved on the floor? My hope is to get it passed, and I'd like to get it passed this year. That's what I'm going to be pressing to do. It will depend on if there are any senators who object. As I stand here today, I don't know of any senators who object, and I hope they don't. I mean, we tried to spend real-time drafting this in a way that it is narrowly targeted to the harm. So it doesn't have, it's not overbroad, it doesn't encompass conduct outside of what we're seeking to prevent. And look, this bill is really designed to provide help, needed help to moms, to kids, to the victims of these egregious invasions of privacy and these egregious violations. And I just want to say, I want to thank everyone for joining us today, and I want to thank in particular Dorota and Anna, and especially Elliston. I have teenage daughters, and I know this is, standing at an array of TV cameras is not an easy thing to do. You did a fantastic job, by the way. And so thank you for your courage, and thank you for everyone for being here. We're going to get this done, and there are a lot of times when the Senate doesn't work, it doesn't work very well, but I believe on this bill, the Senate will do exactly the job we're supposed to do, and we'll come together and get it passed and answer the needs of our constituents. And I will point out as just a closing observation that one of the first steps that put this issue on my plate was a call that my office got from Anna. They're Texans. And she called our office and told us what had happened to Elliston. And that, I've been focused for a long time on protecting kids online from all sorts of predators and all sorts of harmful material that is directed at children. And I got to tell you, every parent I know who has teenage kids or who has adolescent kids is terrified about the threats that come online. Our kids, it's really hard to be a kid today. But this started really with that phone call that it was teed up in our office, and we said, this is horrible. There ought to be a way to fix it. And that is what prompted this legislation and prompted the coalition that's come together. And thank you, each of you, for your groups, the work you do fighting for kids, fighting for victims of horrific abuse. That's incredibly important, and I appreciate it. All right, thank you, everybody.